And after we got old enough, I had to register for a service. And the 27th of January, I had to leave in 1942. And I went to Camp Polk, Louisiana for my training, and then we went to California for a few months. They thought we was going to send us to someplace else. Well, we was out there a few months and they sent us back to Louisiana again. We stayed there till just a short time, and then we was shipped over to Fort Benning, Georgia. We stayed there about 2 months, and that's where I had a job cooking for most of the officers in our bunch, me and another guy. So we ate pretty good. We was on the farm there, and of course it was, when you get about 8 or 9, 10 years old, you had to do quite a bit of work on the farm. Milk some cows before you went to school in the morning, and after I got old enough, then we started with the plow, with horses, team of horses, and a plow behind it, going down the road, walking behind it, and walk behind everything, 'cause you couldn't ride on anything. Now if they had to, oh boy, now if you had some of them tractors then, well, you could done something, you know, but it was pretty rough. My mother always done everything, you know, and well, when I got a little bit older, I had to go out and help on the farm, and we didn't have no combines. We had to cut that wheat with a binder and put them in bundles. We're about 15 or 20 to a shock, and then you had to set the shock up, and you had to bend one of them bundles over to make a cap like that, so the water would run off of the wheat, wouldn't go in the shock, you know. Well, in about 30 days, it was ready to thresh, and they come around with about 12 or 15 farmers got together, and each one they'd go around and help each other out, hauling them bundles into the thrash machine and thrash it. Then you had a great big straw pile back there. Oh boy, that was a long time. That was a long time ago. Yeah, depression, yeah. Yeah, we went all through that depression. Didn't have no money, but we had a little bit to eat on the farm all the time. We never do without anything good to eat.
The Great Depression, one of America's worst economic crashes that would begin on October of 1929, when a wave of panicking investors began selling their overpriced stock, which caused a massive market crash. The result of consumers not purchasing company goods would result in many companies firing most of their employees due to the companies not having enough money to maintain all the wages of all the employees they had. With farms being unable to sell their crops to make a good amount of money to purchase food, many people in the cities would begin relying on charity organizations for food, as they were handing out free rations on the streets. While this current disaster would call for government intervention in such hard times, the current administration under Hoover believed that it was not the government's responsibility to handle economic situations like this, and as a result provided very little support.
The President began this campaign with the same attitude with which he has approached so many of the serious problems of the past 3 years. He sought to create the impression that there was no campaign on at all, just as he had sought to create the impression that all was well with the United States, and that there was no depression.
As a result of this, Franklin Delano Roosevelt would win the 1932 election in a landslide victory and would begin to start his New Deal in order to help ease the economic situation on the citizens.
It means, I am sure, that the masses of the people of the nation firmly believe that there is great and actual possibility in an orderly recovery through a well-conceived and actively directed plan of action. Such a plan has been presented to you, and you have expressed approval of it. This, my friends, is most reassuring to me.
In order to quickly improve things for the United States, FDR would rapidly push for the creation of legislation and organizations. This push would fix issues in the United States such as a lack of jobs and no financial safety net, resulting in better conditions for the people for a while. Not all issues were fixed, however, and the United States wouldn't be able to fully recover until a horrendous tragedy would force the country into the largest war in history.
You know, I didn't think about Pearl Harbor too much, never did think about it, Pearl. I had two brother-in-laws that went across. They were over in Germany, but I never did think about Pearl Harbor too much.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate, of the House of Representatives, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. Japan has therefore undertaken a surprise offensive extending throughout the Pacific area. The facts of yesterday and today speak for themselves. The people of the United States have already formed their opinions and well understand the implications to the very life and safety of our nation. As Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, I have directed that all measures be taken for our defense, but always will our whole nation remember the character of the onslaught against us, no matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion. The American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory. I believe that I interpret the will of the Congress and of the people when I assert that we will not only defend ourselves to the uttermost, but will make it very certain that this form of treachery shall never again endanger us. Hostilities exist. There is no blinking at the fact that our people, our territory, and our interests are in grave danger. With confidence in our armed forces, with the unbounding determination of our people, we will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God.
Then we they said it's ready to go. So on D-Day, we were sitting on the Queen Mary in New York Harbor, ready to go across the channel, over into France. And we started, General Patton had us there, and he took us across there so fast the ammunition or supplies or nothing could keep up with us. We had to sit there for 3 or 4 days with no supplies or no gasoline, and we couldn't go no place. And we was allowed 105 shell a day. 1 shell a day is always allowed to. We went to that camp up there. We stayed there for about a month, but I don't know, no different than any other day. You was in camp, you was there. You didn't know how long you was gonna stay. Well, we got up about 4 o'clock in the morning, I guess, and we had to make breakfast for all those guys. And we worked till noon and had to make dinner. And then after dinner, we was off for 1 day. We had cooks. We went 1 day at a time. We was on a day and off a day, 24 hours. Yeah. But it's because you had to get up so early in the morning till noon. Well, that was the day anyway. We never done anything hardly. Just lay around. That's about it. We didn't have to go out with anybody else. I mean, they just left us in our barracks because they know we got to get up earlier in the morning again the next day. We had plenty to eat. Most of the time safe, but a lot of times we had the big shells coming in on us, One time I can remember when we was going across France there, we was all camouflaged. They couldn't see us from the air very well. But there was a big, German 88 come in and landed right in front of us, 40, 50 yards, I guess, something like that. That was the dud. It went to the ground. It didn't go off. It wasn't long. We could hear another one coming. It landed over about the same distance on to the right of us. It was a dud. The good thing it was both duds, or else we probably wouldn't be here no more. Yeah. We got into a pretty good battle at Metz, Germany. I think it was in Germany, Metz.
After the invasion of Normandy, the Allies have been constantly pushing back the Germans. So to counter this, the Germans decided they would prepare a grand defense in the mainland by slowing down the Allied advances through Metz. The Germans saw potential for Metz being a fortress for 2 reasons. One, it was surrounded by 2 rivers, the Ciel and Moselle rivers. The second is that the city was already outfitted with several fortifications, such as pillboxes, bunkers, and a series of fortresses connected through an underground network. Other advantages the Germans had in their defense was barbed wire surrounding the entire city, and the bunkers being covered by a variety of plants, making it difficult for the Allied troops to see where the bunkers were. The defenders were the German First Army, led by German General Nobelsdorf, who was one of Germany's most well-decorated generals. He would be up against the U.S. Third Army, which was led by George S. Patton, who has so far led the push into Europe for the Allies. The Allied siege of Metz would begin on November 8, 1944, and the fighting would not end until December 13th of that same year.
I mean, I was back in quite a little ways back all the time in the kitchen, and they didn't do near as much as our other guys, you know. But they had to have kitchen crew too.
The initial attacks on Metz would prove difficult as the Germans had destroyed any bridge crossings that the Allies may have used to get over the river. However, the Germans left one bridge standing to get across, and the Allies used it to their advantage with American infantry and tank regiments crossing the bridge into the city. After a long battle which saw both sides using the buildings as defense, the Allies would begin pushing out any buildings occupied by the Germans, and the German forces in the city itself would surrender on November 21st after the current general in the area, German General Kittel, was captured by the Allies. In the end, both sides achieved their desired goals. The Allies now had a clear path in the German mainland, but the German army also took the opportunity to halt the Allied offensives and prepare the German West Wall.
Going up to the Battle of the Bulge and seeing all them guys laying on the side of the road with their arm or legs sticking out of the snow, I guess that was about as bad, I guess, as anything. I think them shells coming in real close, that wasn't very nice, but they didn't go off. No, I don't remember my first day back in how I felt or anything, but to me now it's pretty nice. Yeah, it was pretty nice to get on that ship to come home. It was on a little Victor ship, and boy, oh boy, that water coming up. Everybody was hanging over the side sick. Oh boy.
Okay. When I first heard about Vet Doc, it was when I was with the teacher, Nicholas Stengy, when I had a U.S. history class with him. He had offered to bring me into this class because he thought I'd be fairly interested in it. And so I thought, sure, it'd be worth giving a try. And so we had time to come in during the summer, so I came in a few times during the summer, and I got the advantage of picking the veteran early. And I saw Clarence on the list, and he intrigued me because of the battles he had taken place in, which I believe involved Metz and the Battle of the Bulge, and being a World War II veteran. So I thought it seemed like he'd have an interesting story to tell. And yeah, he had a pretty nice story. He never served on the front lines or anything. But just because he didn't serve on the front line didn't mean he didn't have a good story. He always had a nice story to tell. He always seemed like, a lot of the time he seemed pretty happy. And it was pretty uplifting. It felt pretty nice to hear his story and not always seem so heartbroken. Which made me get attached to him and his story. I thought it was always pretty nice how he'd always smile sometimes and laugh. And when the school year started in November, we were going to go meet Clarence himself, me staying along with another student, Nolan. But a week before we got to go down, I heard Clarence passed away. And the news just struck me really hard. I don't know why, but ever since I heard Clarence and his passing, whenever I talk about how he passed away, it still kind of shakes me up on the inside. I've just felt... It was heartbreaking to hear about it. A week before I'd get to meet him in person, I'd get to know him personally rather than his story. And eventually I then realized after that, with Clarence's passing, this documentary was going to be more important to the family than ever. And that helped push me to finish it, because the last thing I ever wanted to do would be to disappoint them. And I really hope I don't. I know this is important to them, and I know it means a lot to them, especially after he just passed away. I'm hoping that I made them happy with what I created. I'm hoping I didn't disappoint them at all. I know Stangy himself's been saying the doc's good, but at the end of the day, it's going to be about what the family thinks to me. And in the end, I hope I don't upset him. The longer it's gone on, the more important it's felt to me. So that's just kind of how much this all means to me at this point. It's about making the family happy, and that's all I want from this. If I make them happy, then I'll definitely be happy.
No more than I got in Camp Polk down there. My girlfriend come down, and she was a girlfriend at that time. And before she left, we got married. We didn't go to high school. No, we couldn't go. We got out of grade school, and that was all. When they picked me up over at Alton, she was in the front with me, and my wife was first. And all of a sudden, she crawled over that seat and got in the back with the grandma. She was scared of me.